Jewish organizations at American universities are warning that the pro-Palestine, anti-Israel protests that rocked campuses in the spring could kick back up any day now as students return to school. Unless things change quickly, explains the director of the American Jewish Committee's Center for Education Advocacy, I have zero doubt that things will go back to where they were last year. And this is great news. This is great. This is the best political news that I have heard in weeks, maybe months. You know I love my Jewish friends. The schools absolutely need to make sure that Jews are not harassed or impeded from going to class or anything like that. But the protests must be allowed to continue. Because as the media coalesce to protect Kamala Harris at all costs, the American people must have the opportunity to see the libs for who they really are. The crazy hair, the shrieking, the sympathy with terrorists, the anti-colonial ravings, the racial hatred, even the American flag burning, which is something that makes my blood boil. But that American flag burning that seems to accompany so many of these affairs, and it always goes on unmolested, and the Supreme Court says it's allowed to go on unmolested. I hate every part of all that stuff, but it is a matter of civic responsibility that the American people see who and what a Harris victory in November empowers. It is an unpleasant short-term cost for a significant long-term benefit. Politically, things do need to go back to where they were last year. Because last year, the Republicans were indisputably winning this election. I'm Michael Knowles. This is The Michael Knowles Show. Welcome back to the show. Black voters in Philadelphia are fed up, and they're blaming the federal government for economic problems. And this is actually somehow not great for Republicans. You'd think it would be, but it's not. We'll get to why in a second. First, is here, baby. The yes or no game. You know the yes or no game. Very popular game in the DailyWire shop. You know the conspiracy expansion pack. We came out with it last year. It sold out. I'm overjoyed to share we have this brand new expansion pack introducing politics, philosophy, and religion. The yes or no expansion pack is a tease. I'm going to pull some cards. Mr. Davies, you want to play with me?
Let's do it.
You're going to play? Okay. I'm going to guess what you think. Male cheerleaders should be banned.
You better get this right.
What you think? I guess you think yes.
I actually do, Michael.
You do.
Yeah.
I'm torn on it. In that, George W. Bush was a cheerleader, and
Oh, don't squish on this.
No, I'm just saying.
There's a place for men. It's not being a cheerleader.
But what if you're like a little, I don't know. What if you're a little light in the loafers, And so and we're saying, look, you got to act normal and stuff. But maybe one outlet for you is you like cheerleading.
Maybe if you have a good right hook and you're a woman, you should box.
Yeah, no, I guess you're right. Okay, I agree with you. You're right. You've convinced me. And you can play with up to 9 people at once and put your knowledge of your friends and family to the test. Go to dailywire.com/shop to get yes or no the game. And while you're there, be sure to pick up the new Politics, Philosophy, and Religion expansion pack. The pro-Palestine stuff already kicking up off campus. These guys shut down the 405, it seems. So one of the main highways in California, we call them freeways, in California just shuts it right down there in LA. So you can see, if you've seen any of the footage, you see one cop car, you see the 405, I don't know which direction it's going, it's completely shut down, a ton of cars, and then a bunch of these wackos just sitting around blocking traffic. Now, what should happen in this situation? What should happen is the cops should drag them off the street. And if they resist, if the protesters use any force to resist, then the cops should use a lot of force to resist the resistance of the protesters, okay? And teach them a little bit of a lesson. That's what should happen. Now, I know if I were sitting in that traffic, I would be very, very tempted to drive my car on the road where you're supposed to be able to drive your car. People are not supposed to be on the highway. This isn't like a a street in a neighborhood. This is not a people zone. So I would be very tempted to drive my car. Let's say, God forbid, you had a member of your family needed to get to the hospital. You got a sick kid in the car or something. God forbid. You're going to drive. I would drive, or I would be tempted to. But of course, what would happen in that situation? You would immediately be arrested. You would be sent to jail. You'd probably be if anything happened to the protesters, you'd probably be put in jail for life. Why are the cops not dealing with these people? Because the cops know if the cops actually enforce the law, the politicians will drag the cops before a judge. It'll cost the cops their job, and the cops might end up in prison. That's why. The powers that be would punish them. So they let these freaks just sit around and shut down highways. Now, this is really bad. If the government can't enforce basic laws and maintain basic order and basic peace, then you might as well not have a government. So this is really bad in itself. And if there were some easy fix to this in California, I'd suggest they do it. The second best option is to let these freaks behave exactly as they're going to behave. The best option on university campuses is that weirdos and people who peddle false ideologies and destructive behaviors are excluded from campus. The best case scenario on campus is that the campuses pursue truth rigorously in a university. That's the point of the university, and enforce standards and norms and bring in people of intellectual merit and good moral fiber, and you have a good place conducive to learning. The second best option is let those freaks show everyone who they are, because it puts the Democrats in a terrible position. Whether we're talking about some wacky gender protest, whether we're talking about now the Pro-Palestine protest, it's all kind of the same people, and they're all kind of doing the same thing. They're dressing up like wackos, and they're burning the American flag. So the reason this is important is Kamala can't lose those guys. That's the grassroots Democrat activist base. And they're lockstep with the establishment donor class on a lot of issues, but not on this one. The establishment donor class is generally pro-Israel. The activist class hates Israel, loves the idea of a Palestine nation, buys up all this nonsense about settler colonialism, makes the same arguments against the state of Israel that they make against the United States about stolen land and an illegitimate historical development, whatever. Best option, we deal with it. We have a peaceful, orderly society. But second best option, we got to know exactly who those people are. Make Kamala Harris sweat. Make her own those people. Drive a wedge in the Democrat Party and make the Kamala Tim Walz ticket absolutely unacceptable for anyone even approaching normality. Meanwhile, the libs are saying that we're the unreasonable ones. Aaron Sorkin, who is that absolutely insufferable writer behind The American President, that Michael Douglas movie that tried to whitewash the Clinton administration. And he's behind the West Wing. I've never watched a complete episode of The West Wing, but all the lib millennials grew up loving it. It's just unbearable. This guy is right. He did Newsroom, that also unbearable show. The guy, he's just terrible. He's a terrible, terrible writer, but he's had a very successful Hollywood career. And he writes about politics and government with a liberal slant. He was just asked what it would be like if he made The West Wing today. Here's what he said. What would be different would be this. And I don't want to get a rumble started over anything. This is simply what would be different. I'm so afraid to say that right now, maybe things will be different in a year or 2 years, but right now, it would be implausible that the opposition party, that the Republican Party, was reasonable. People would watch that, and it would be unfamiliar to them as the country that they live in. On the show, while the Republicans were the opposition, they were reasonable, the Republicans that they dealt with. Back in the old days, back in the 90s, we had a reasonable Republican Party. Now they're so unreasonable. Is that what changed? Is that really what changed? Back in the 90s, it's enough to make you lose sleep at night. But one way you won't lose sleep at night is by getting a Helix mattress. Go to helixsleep.com/Knowles. I love my Helix. My little boy loves his Helix too. And now I kind of want to get another Helix because I still have a guest room. And right now in my guest room, we do not have a Helix. and my poor guests have to sleep on some kind of, box spring monstrosity. So you should do what I should do very shortly and get another Helix, even if you already have one. Helix has a sleep quiz. Takes just 2 minutes to complete, matches your body type and sleep preferences to the perfect mattress for you. Why would you buy a mattress made for someone else? Okay, I'm a married man. Get out of my mattress. Get your own mattress. Get your own Helix. With Helix, you're getting a mattress that you know will be perfect for the way you sleep. You don't ever need to go to the mattress store again. Go to helixsleep.com/Knowles. Take their 2-minute sleep quiz. You'll be matched to a mattress that will give you the best sleep of your life. Helix has a 10-year warranty. You get to try it out for 100 nights, risk-free. They will even pick it up for you if you don't love it, but you will. Financing options available. Flexible payment plans available. A great night's sleep is never far away. Helix is offering up to 20% off all mattress orders and 2 free pillows for our listeners. helixsleep.com/Knowles. helixsleep.com/Knowles. This is their best offer yet. It won't last long. With Helix, better sleep starts now. Speaking of the media, Stephen Colbert just interviewed some CNN lady. I think her name is Erin Burnett. Could be wrong about that. I recognize her. Her name escapes me at the moment. She's a reporter, anchor for CNN. Colbert had an accidental laugh line. He doesn't have too many laugh lines on his show anymore. He had an accidental laugh line when he was describing CNN.
Trump has kind of been thrown on his heels by this, and he's not really sure how to go after Vice President Harris. He knew his attack lines on President Biden. He really has struggled with how to go after someone who's 20 years younger than him.
That's Caitlin Collins.
Gender, a different race. It's kind of been this moment where he has not been able to coalesce around a single attack line.
I know you guys are objective over there, that you just report the news as it is. Oh, I know. CNN makes it. I know.
Is that supposed to be a laugh line?
It wasn't supposed to be, but I guess it is. What I wanted to ask is that, but you guys still have your own feelings and your own bets about what's going to happen on a daily basis.
Wow. I actually think that was not a laugh line. You see Colbert trying to recover and make his guest, who I misnamed. I didn't intentionally misname her, but I think it's Caitlin Collins, not the other one. The other one's also like a liberal news host. He was trying to recover from, but he said, no, you guys are objective. But you do have your own views, right? But the audience laughed on, you guys are objective. You guys aren't partisan. You guys just call shots. Call it like you see them. The good thing about this clip is that the audience, even Stephen Colbert's left-wing audience, knew that that's ridiculous to say that CNN is unbiased or objective. It's good that they kind of called out the reporter. They called out Colbert. That's good. The bad news is they don't care. That's the bad news is, yeah, we all know that CNN is left-wing, and that's fine. We all know the New York Times is left-wing. We all know that Facebook's left-wing. We all know that Google's left-wing. We all know that the entire media landscape, we know that the entire public square is left-wing except for Twitter, except for X. And that's fine. That's good. If they laughed and then booed CNN, that'd be one thing. Oh, good. Okay, they're demanding that CNN become objective. They don't want CNN to become objective. They like that CNN is left-wing. They like it. They like that the left dominates the media because they know that there is power in that. You want to see the kind of power that the liberal establishment has? Here's the latest Time magazine cover. A picture of Kamala Harris, all these supposed supporters holding up her signs, her face like it's being etched onto Mount Rushmore. So noble, so dignified, looking toward the future. Her Moment by Charlotte Alter. If you read this piece, if you read the cover feature article in the New York Times, you find out the Harris campaign declined a request to be interviewed. Time magazine said, hey, we want to write a hagiography of you, Kamala. And Kamala said, nah, you're not worth my time. Screw you. You'll write me a puff piece anyway. And they did. And they did. That's power. You don't even have, you can disrespect them. Kamala Harris could have spit in their face. She basically did. Whatever, you'll promote me anyway. We're all part of the same company. I don't have time for you, Time magazine. Just give me my puff piece. You make it up. I don't care what you say. Yes, ma'am. Because we benefit from you being in power too. Because we're all on the same team. Okay. Her Moment The reintroduction of Kamala Harris. That's what this is being called. The reintroduction. That's the most honest word in the whole article. We know Kamala Harris has been introduced. She was a United States Senator. She was the Attorney General of California. She's been the Vice President. She was supposed to be the border czar. She was supposed to be in charge of getting rural Americans connected to high-speed internet. She didn't do either of those things. Now she's the Democrat nominee for president. Now she's going to be reintroduced. They're going to make a new Kamala Harris because the old Kamala Harris wasn't popular. The old Kamala Harris got chased out of the Democrat presidential primary before the first primary vote was cast. So that's not going to work. Now they got to reintroduce her. Back then, Kamala was a little too lib. The media wanted someone like a Biden. But now Kamala's the girl. All right, we got to reintroduce her. Yeah, Kamala's great now, guys. Yeah, she won't talk to us. She won't talk to anyone in the media, but it's okay. She's great. We love her. We love her now. Everything we ever said about her, that was fake. Now we need her to win. And sorry to say it works. There's a reason they do this. You know, we laugh at the media. The Colbert audience laughs at the supposed objectivity of CNN. But it works. There's a study out of Harvard. Not that I like to cite Harvard for any proof of anything. Celebrities Strengthening Our Culture of Democracy, a study on the impact of celebrity engagement on civic participation. The study examines what celebrities do in politics and whether or not celebrity endorsements are effective. And you know what it found? They are effective. And we conservatives like to say, you know, we don't care what these Hollywood elites are saying anymore. I'm sure I've said similar things on Fox News. I remember that when I was a younger man and a little more naive, I went on and said, I think the power of these celebrity endorsements is waning. Yeah, I don't actually know. I don't think it is. I think the libs still have media hegemony. And that's important because it works and it really crafts public opinion. Here's what the study says. While some polling shows that people claim they aren't influenced by celebrity voices when it comes to politics, more rigorous evidence indicates that these voices are incredibly powerful. For instance, nonprofits report higher rates of online voter registration or poll worker signups when a celebrity promotes these calls to action. This potential impact is why nonprofits, candidates, and elected officials are increasingly seeking ways to engage celebrities. Of course, if the celebrity endorsement stuff didn't work, they wouldn't do it. It really works. Having a media that will write you universal hagiographies, even as you disrespect them, really works. It really helps. Having an entire class of manufactured influencers from Hollywood who you can rely on 99 out of 100 times to endorse you and to work for you for free and to actually give you money during election season is powerful. It really does persuade people. That's why they keep doing it. Conservative doomers, you know, all these doom and gloomers, we think, when we want to deny that elections matter, we say, it doesn't matter because they'll just rig it at the ballot box. Yeah, the libs can rig things a little bit at the ballot box. They can take money from Zuckerberg to put ballot drop boxes that are too far away from the county clerk's office. They can change the election process to violate even the state constitution, as in Pennsylvania, and send out widespread mail-ins. They can fill in some of those ballot applications in a way that is obviously open to fraud. They do all those things. They can try to kick out the poll watchers. They can drag out the count. They do all those things. I'm not denying it. It's a problem, and conservatives need to deal with it. But also, they persuade people. And the way they persuade people, it's not all just rigging at the ballot box. The way they persuade people is by owning the media, owning the public square with the exception of X, and owning the celebrities. If the libs didn't need to do that, they wouldn't. They wouldn't invest so much time in the celeb endorsements and the glowing media profiles and the hegemony in big tech in the public square. That stuff really does matter, and they're very successful at it. And if we want to win, the good news is we don't need to just try to unrig the ballot boxes or something like that. We have to destroy their hegemony in the media and in the big tech and in the public square, and then we need to take some of that power for ourselves. Now, when you want to spin up organizations, you got to check out Ramp. Go to ramp.com/Knowles. When you are running a business, time is money, honey. That is why I'm excited to introduce you to Ramp. If you are a finance professional looking for a better way to maximize productivity and cut wasteful spending, Ramp could be for you. Ramp is a corporate card and spend management software designed to help you save time and put money back in your pocket. With Ramp, you can issue cards to every employee with limits and restrictions. Ramp's accounting software automatically collects receipts and categorizes your expenses in real time, so you don't have to. You'll never have to chase down a receipt again, and your employees will no longer spend hours submitting expense reports. The time you'll save each month on employee expenses will allow you to close your books 8 times faster. Ramp is so easy to use. Get started in less than 15 minutes, whether you have 5 employees or 5,000. Now, get $250 when you join Ramp. Go to ramp.com/Knowles, K-N-W-L-E-S, RAMP.com/Knowles. That is ramp.com/Knowles. Disclaimer, cards are issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members FDIC. Terms and conditions apply. All that said, go to ramp.com/Knowles. Listen to what the voters are saying. Conservatives are sharing this clip as though it's a good thing. They're so excited by this clip because there are black voters in Philadelphia who are furious at the policies of this administration. And they're saying, see, look how great this is. Look, the black voters, and even in Philly, black voters vote overwhelmingly for Dems. Philly's a Democrat machine city. And even there, they're sick of the Biden-Harris administration's policies. I have completely the opposite reaction to this clip.
How hard has inflation hit you?
It hit me hard. It's hitting me hard.
What do you blame for it?
I blame the federal government at this point. If a working class mom who works as a paralegal cannot buy a $2 bell pepper because it's now $5, imagine a mother living on food stamps. Imagine a mother who's making minimum wage trying to feed children. They're killing us without killing us. If you understand that. They're killing us without telling us they're killing us. They're hurting people in ways that they can't help themselves. It's either feed my child or how about feed my children and I don't, but I have to go work.
Okay, I really feel for this woman because this really happens. The cost of groceries is completely insane. The cost of everything is completely insane. This administration's economic policies have been completely insane. It has real pain. It's very difficult. I've seen it where a mother can't, maybe doesn't eat chicken that night. Maybe the mother has peanut butter and jelly so the kids can eat chicken. That's real. People who live a bougie lifestyle or who come from money don't believe that that's real. That is real. So you can hear tears in this woman's voice. Tears in her eyes, and you can see she's getting a little bit choked up when she's talking about it. All that stuff is real. She's definitely suffering. A lot of people are suffering because of this administration's policies. Who does she blame? The federal government. Who's the federal government? Who is the federal government? The federal government is nobody. Not really, it's people. There are real people you can point to. But as far as anyone who would answer in that way is concerned, it's nobody. There's no one to point the finger at. The real answer should be Joe Biden. I blame Joe Biden, and Joe Biden is out to lunch. Joe Biden, the lights are on and no one's home. So I blame whoever is really running the show at the White House. We've been told that Kamala has apparently, all this prominence, that she's an equal partner with Joe Biden. Okay, I blame Kamala Harris. I blame Kamala for the cost of bell peppers going up. I blame Kamala, the border czar, for all the coming across the border and screwing up the labor market, making the cost of housing more competitive. I blame. That's who I blame. That's not what she said. I blame the federal government. Biden's not going to get any blame. Definitely Kamala's not going to get any blame. Trump's not going to win Philadelphia. They've avoided responsibility. And they've avoided responsibility in part because this is her moment. We're introducing Kamala Harris. Introducing her. She's the vice president of the United States. But before that, she was a U.S. senator. Introducing her. She has been behind a lot of these policies. No. She hasn't. What about blame Biden? No, I thought Biden's not the president, right? Aren't they? They're equal partners and everything. Kamala has presidential authority. Joe Biden told us in 2021 on certain issues. Nah, forget about that. Oh, great. We'll blame the federal government, and then they're going to elect Kamala Harris to clean it up. Kamala Harris comes out, Politico headline. Kamala promises to get tough on the border. She is currently the border czar. Are you kidding? She could end illegal immigration tomorrow. She doesn't want to. She's had that power for 3 years. She'll do it, though. You got to elect her first. She's the vice president and effectively the president. No, they avoid that responsibility. Until I hear voters screaming that Kamala Harris is to blame, I'm not getting my hopes up. Now, speaking of racial issues, if you want to get a job, at Apple, actually, let me be more specific. If you want to join Apple, Apple like MacBooks and iPhones and stuff, Apple's entrepreneur camp, I've got great news for you. Applications are now open if you are female. There's an asterisk by female, actually. I don't know what the asterisk entails, so just got the one page. If you're female, Black, Hispanic / Latinx, or Indigenous, then you can join Apple's entrepreneur camp. And if you're a white man, you can. That's it. Because all women can do it, all females. And it's unclear, does the count? I don't know. I'm not even getting into that. But all the women can. And then as for the men, Black men, Hispanic men, Latinx men, Indigenous men, all women, including, there's only one group that's not allowed in, and that's white men. So what do we do about this? We have to sue these people because politics is downstream of culture and everything. But actually, the law is a tutor. I've hit this point pretty regularly. And the only thing that's going to get these guys to back down is if we threaten to punish them and take away their money and maybe put them in jail if they keep discriminating against white guys or anybody. But in this case, specifically white guys. White guys, the only group that you can legally discriminate against in the United States and that socially you're encouraged to discriminate against. It's the only group. It's not Black people. It's not Hispanic people. It's not Indigenous people. It's not women. It's not Latinx. It's just white guys. That's it. It's not even Asians. To some degree, the Asians catch it a little bit, but it's basically just white guys that get discriminated against. And white guys need to sue Apple. And what would happen if white guys sued Apple over this? Well, there's a glimmer of hope because last year, the Supreme Court ruled in Students for Fair Admissions versus Harvard that race-based admissions policies in colleges are illegal, unconstitutional. How had racial discrimination against white people and Asians been upheld in the past? Well, because the Supreme Court has a strict scrutiny standard. This is the highest level of legal review under the 14th Amendment, under the Equal Protection Clause. And in order to pass the strict scrutiny standard, rules or laws that affect fundamental rights must be deemed to serve a compelling state interest. And they must be written to minimize their negative effects on these fundamental rights. So it's got to have a compelling state interest. And the Supreme Court ruled last year that discriminating against whites and Asians did not serve a compelling state interest when we're talking about college admissions. So does that mean that Apple would lose a lot of money or be punished? Not necessarily, but maybe it would. But what about race-based scholarships? Not race-based admissions to college, but race-based scholarships. Technically, I guess they're still legal, but if an Asian guy sued, though, maybe the Supreme Court would say, yeah, that's unfair. It doesn't serve a compelling state interest to just pummel white guys into the ground and deprive them of educational opportunities and jobs. What the libs will say is that diversity with a capital D, serves a compelling state interest. And what diversity really means in practice, as we see at the Apple Entrepreneur Camp and the university admissions, what diversity means is punishing white guys. That it is in the state's compelling interest to punish white guys and to disadvantage them throughout society. And maybe that will hold. The liberal judges will say that. But maybe there's a chance some of the more reasonable, fair-minded, and conservative judges will not. All I know is you're not going to stop this. You're not going to stop de jure and de facto discrimination against anyone merely by angrily tweeting about it or even by holding a rally. You're going to change that by hitting these people where it hurts, in their pockets, and threatening them with serious legal penalties if they keep it up. The libs are so invested in diversity and equity and inclusion. They are willing to take your kids away to get it, as J.D. Vance pointed out in an interview with ABC's John Carl.
What President Trump said, John, is that Tim Walz has supported taking children from their parents if the parents don't consent to gender reassignment. That is crazy. And by the way, Tim Walz gets on his high horse about mind your own damn business. One way of minding your own damn business, John, is to not try to take my children away from me if I have different moral views than you.
The state to kidnap children to change their sexual identity.
What I just explained to you, I would describe as kidnapping, John. He has absolutely done this stuff. It's not crazy, John. Come on.
It's not what
you
he's
should
done.
not. You should not be able to take people's children away from them.
And that's not what he's proposed.
If you disagree with decisions about gender reassignment, yes, he has proposed that, John. He absolutely has.
He absolutely has. J.D. Vance is completely right here. Jonathan Karl is completely in the wrong. Tim Walz made no bones about it. He said, as governor of Minnesota, that he wanted Minnesota to be a refuge and a sanctuary for. You're a kid. You've got some views. Your state, your family don't support you. Come here. We want you to come to Minnesota. We'll give you gender-affirming care. Oh yeah, we'll promote all that you've been scandalized into believing. Yeah. Come on over here. Come to the big white van full of candies and puppies that we call the state of Minnesota. That's me, Governor Walz, your future vice president if Kamala wins. He 100% did that. And that is called kidnapping. Trying to take someone's kids away because you don't believe, you don't want your son. So the governor of Minnesota wants to take your kids away from you. That's kidnapping. But it's in the service of diversity and equity and inclusion. So what are we going to do about that? It seems to me we need strict legal penalties to punish the perverts who would do this to kids. It seems simple enough. I mean, it's crazy that this is even controversial. This would not have been controversial 10 years ago. If you try to take kids and involve them in, you should be punished by the law. Nobody would have disagreed with that 10 years ago. But now Aaron Sorkin says we conservatives, some of whom still hold that view, we're the unreasonable ones. Okay. The guys who brought you What is a Woman are back with the next big question. Am I racist? Coming to theaters September 13th. Matt Walsh asked the question no one dares to ask, and you will have to watch the film to find out if you really are racist. Pre-sale tickets are available tomorrow, and the more tickets we sell, the more theaters will show it. We're fighting the left with every ticket purchase. Am I racist? Pre-sales start tomorrow. AmIRacist.com. My favorite comment yesterday is from Heavy Hearts Show, who says, worst press secretary in U.S. history, Karine Jean-Pierre, all due respect. She probably is. That's true. Because you'll notice that when really important news comes out, the White House brings out John Kirby, but they can't fire Karine Jean-Pierre because the White House has made very clear that they value diversity, equity, and inclusion above all these things. I mean, Joe Biden himself said that Kamala Harris is a diversity, equality, and inclusion hire. He said that he used those words, okay? Diversity, equality, and inclusion. No one highlights this more than the vice president, Kamala Harris. And Karine Jean-Pierre has great job security because she is black, she's a woman, and she's a lesbian. So she's not great at the job. She's got an impossible job in her defense. So maybe if she had a little more to work with, she would do better. But yeah, she's not even as good as her predecessor, Jen Psaki. If the Dems did not value all the crazy identity intersectional stuff, she would have been out of a job a long time ago. Now, Walz is under fire right now. There's no doubt. And there's the scandal about kids that he kept promoting for decades. But there's also the stolen valor scandal. And so now, as the stolen valor scandal gets worse and worse and more clips come up of Tim Walz misrepresenting his military service, the libs are bringing out the big guns. I'm talking about Hillary Clinton, who I'm sure has lots of literal guns, you know, she's waiting in corners, lurking, waiting for you. Hillary Clinton comes out and says, Tim Walz served honorably for 2 decades. Then he joined Congress and worked to pass a new GI Bill that helped fund the college educations of millions of veterans, among them J.D. Vance. Tim Walz, how dare you? Now, this is the subtext. How dare you accuse Tim Walz of stolen valor, of lying about his experience in a combat zone? So say I, Hillary Clinton.
Despite her initial account of a 1996 trip to Bosnia,
I remember landing under sniper fire.
This newly released video debunks Hillary Clinton's recollection of a would-be dangerous encounter as First Lady.
There was supposed to be some kind of a greeting ceremony at the airport, but instead we just ran with our heads down to get into the vehicles.
That was last week. Now, confronted with new evidence, the New York senator is backpedaling.
You know, I made a mistake in describing it. I have said many times, I have talked about this many times, that we were, very much told by the Secret Service and the military that we were going into a war zone.
Clinton's campaign rival, Barack Obama, is blasting the remarks, saying they are all part of a pattern in which Clinton tries to exaggerate her role in policymaking during her husband's administration.
Gosh, lighten up, guys. I mean, obviously, come on. I say millions of words every week, and there's a lot more, room for error when you're talking as much as I'm talking.
That's right. There's a lot of room. We can cut it off there. That's right. I say millions of words every week, and at least 2 or 3 of them are true. Of course. Yikes. Kamala rolling out Hillary Clinton to defend Walz against charges of stolen valor. Hillary, who stole valor herself, infamously, so much so that Obama made it a big point of the 2008 Democrat presidential primary. Hillary lied about her experience in a war zone. That's great. That's exactly the kind of person that you want to attest to your integrity and your honesty. The Clintons. So not looking good. Not looking good for Tim Walz. Now, speaking of corrupt politicos, I have to tip my cap to some of the most corrupt people in politics. And that would be the Lincoln Project. And I don't tip my cap in an objective way. What they're doing is awful, and they're showing themselves to be some of the slimiest people in politics. But their scam is so breathtakingly successful, I have to have a grudging respect for it. The Lincoln Project, you will recall, was founded by John Weaver, George Conway, Kellyanne Conway's husband, Rick Wilson, few other malcontent GOP operatives who couldn't get jobs anymore after Trump took over the Republican Party and tried to chase out some of the rats on the ship. So they flipped and they started working for Democrats, and they took Democrat money to pose as the anti-Trump Republicans. The name John Weaver, you might recall, he had to resign in disgrace because he was caught sending lewd messages. George Conway ended up resigning, humiliated by the many scandals of the Lincoln Project. Rick Wilson stuck it out. He's still scooping up all that money. It's just a true basket of deplorables, to borrow a phrase from Hillary Clinton. Really slimy swamp creature, the swampy of the swampy in Washington, D.C. Well, anyway, they're making an insane amount of money. The Lincoln Project, according to recent filings, this is from Rob Pyers, got to give a little hat tip. The Lincoln Project has spent $437,000 in the 2024 presidential race. The Lincoln Project has spent $11.7 million on overhead and other operating expenditures since January 1st of last year. So these guys come out, and a lot of them, even these disreputable people, got so sickened by the scam of it. Some of them had said, okay, to keep whatever modicum of a reputation I have left, I'm getting out of here. Rick Wilson stuck it out, and there are other slimy people all over it. They say, hey, Democrats, we're the Republicans with integrity. Yeah, us. We're traitors, and we don't really believe anything, and now we work for people who want to. But yeah, we have integrity and everything, We're not like those Trump people. So anyway, give us all your money and we'll help defeat Trump. And then these gullible Democrats, the Lincoln Project's running ads in the most liberal media markets because it's all just about getting money from Dems, right? And then they get all this money from Dems, and then they spend like 2 cents on ads to try to attack Trump. And then they take all the rest of the money for themselves. $437,000 spent on the 2024 election. Less than $500,000 on the election, almost $12 million on themselves. and their offices and probably their nice new suits and I don't know, whatever else, some Lamborghinis. Who knows? I don't know what they're spending the money on. You gotta, in a way, grudgingly respect the scam. And I applaud the scam. I hope many more Democrats give these dirtbags even more of their money. And I hope these dirtbags go have a nice vacation in Cabo or however they're going to spend it. Because every dollar that these gullible Dems are giving to these crooks in the Lincoln Project is a dollar that is not being spent effectively by actual Democrat operatives who, because they are actually effective, are effectively worse. Good stuff. Thank you, Lincoln Project. Appreciate you. Meanwhile, speaking of large sums of money in politics, President Trump is planning to sue the Department of Justice for $100 million over the Mar-a-Lago raid. And I love this. Trump, according to reports, is taking legal action against Joe Biden's DOJ because on August 8th of 2022, so almost exactly 2 years ago, Biden's DOJ raided Trump's house. And this was shocking. A president using the power of the state to raid the home of his predecessor and current chief rival. Trump is alleging tortious conduct by the United States against President Trump. Daniel Epstein, who is Trump's attorney, says what President Trump is doing here is not just standing up for himself. He is standing up for all Americans who believe in the rule of law and believe that you should hold the government accountable when it wrongs you. I love this. I love the lawfare when it's directed against these swamp creatures. This is really good stuff. Because you can go out there and say, gosh, can you believe the hypocrisy? You can go out there and say, imagine if the shoe were on the other foot. That will do nothing. It won't penetrate. Most voters won't even notice it. The libs will raid his home. The libs will prosecute him. The libs will set the conditions to have him murdered. And he very nearly was murdered a few weeks ago. And we can complain about it, but all that's really going to matter is when we hit the libs where it hurts, when there are civil and legal penalties for their actions. So what's going to happen? Well, probably nothing happens, but I don't know. We still got some conservative courts. We still have some broadly, we have we're basically a conservative Supreme Court for now before the libs try to undermine the third co-equal branch of government by packing the Supreme Court. So, okay, well, we got it. Yeah, sue them. I hope Trump sues these people for all they're worth. And I hope there are criminal penalties. There almost certainly won't be. But I hope people go to jail over this. This is a threat to the American political order. Biden knew that. In as much as he knows anything, he knew that. Got to hit him where it hurts. I'm being told right now that there is no membrum segmentum today. And this is deeply maddening. I guess it's because we have the live show tonight at the Ryman Auditorium Backstage Live. I've also been told, though, from the control room to blame Markella, which is what I will do. The rest of the show does not continue now. You should still become a member. Use code Knowles, Canada, WLAS at checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans. We will see many of you live tonight at the world-famous Ryman Auditorium in Nashville, Tennessee. And I'll see the rest of you tomorrow.
Republicans are Nazis. You cannot separate yourselves from the bad white people.
Growing up, I never thought much about race. It never really seemed to matter that much, at least not to me. Am I racist?
I would really appreciate it if you left.
I'm trying to learn. I'm on this journey. If I'm going to sort this out, I need to go deeper undercover.
They gonna say I'm racist.
Joining us now is Matt, certified DEI expert.
Here's my certification. And what you're doing is you're stretching out of your whiteness. This is more for you and less for you. Is America inherently racist?
The word inherent is challenging there.
I want to rename the George Washington Monument to the George Floyd Monument.
America is racist to its bones.
So inherently.
Yeah, this country is a piece of shit.
White
Folks.
White
Trash. White supremacy. White woman. White boy.
Is there a black person around? There's a black person right here. Does he not exist? Hi, Robin.
Hi. What's your name?
I'm Matt.
I just had to ask who you are because you have to be careful.
Never be too careful.
They gonna say you racist.
In theaters September 13th, rated PG-13.